Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to Boss City. In this episode, we're looking at the Batman TV series and the unprecedented frenzy that accompanied its arrival and the abrupt decrease in its popularity. Batman debuted on ABC TV in January of 1966 and was an overnight sensation that not only made an immediate impact on the ratings, but also became America's biggest television phenomenon up to that time. Batman swung into America's consciousness and conversations, and the media embraced the show like no other before. The series, produced by William Dozier and Howie Horwitz and developed by Lorenzo Semple Jr., starred Adam West and Burt Ward as Batman and Robin, co-stars Neil Hamilton, Stafford Repp, Napier and Madge Blake were all very adept in their roles. Initially airing twice a week in color, the series had a tongue-in-cheek, campy style with pop art style visuals. Its cleverness, humor, and style made it seem so fresh and exciting. The music score, a campy mix of jazz, rock, and surf music, was reminiscent of soundtracks to spy movies and TV shows of the time. The scripts were well written with duality that appealed to adults in addition to the young audience that would normally gravitate to a show based on a comic book. The deadpan performances were spot on. Adam West in particular excelled at adding masterful light touches to the material, gracefully dancing from light comedy to satirical moments to the utterly absurd. The guest villains added to the fun. Cesar Romero, known for his Latin lovers roles, brought the Joker to life with a broad exaggeration. His suave mustache comically remained intact under his clown makeup. Comedian Impressionist Frank Gorshin played the Riddler with an intense, manic energy that set the bar for future portrayals. Burgess Meredith, with his pointy, prosthetic nose, waddle, and squawk, created the illusion that he really could be a human penguin. And Julie Newmar utilized her training as a dancer to give her alluring Catwoman slinky movements and nuances of rhythm and control. Her comedic flair made her Batman's perfect foil. Amidst the buzz about the show, a role as a Batman villain became a coveted gig. Vincent Price, Cliff Robertson, Roddy McDowell, Eli Wallach, Shelly and Carney were among the stars cast in villainous roles. The producers claimed that they were so inundated with so many big stars wanting roles that Batman and Robin began encountering celebrities popping their heads out windows as they climbed buildings. Jerry Lewis, Sammy Davis Jr., Dick Clark, Edward G. Robinson, and Art Linkletter, and others greeted the Caped Crusaders as they made their way up the side of the building to include more stars. Some of my earliest memories of television involve this series and the associated Batmania. I remember a shopping trip with my mom and overhearing the other shoppers saying that they needed to rush home to prepare dinner so the family could eat in time for Batman. And I know my mom had the same goal. I also remember that Batman merch was everywhere. Books, all kinds of toys, lunch boxes, trading cards, and even peanut butter. Interestingly, most of the items featured illustrations and comic book designs and not pictures from the TV series. My favorites were the Batman and Robin costumes for the Captain Action and Action Boy action figures. Since there were no standalone Batman action figures, dressing Captain Action and his sidekick Action Boy as the dynamic duo was the only way to act out my own Bat adventures. I also loved the Corgi Batmobile. The Bat actors became much sought after talk show and variety show guests. Adam West made the first of multiple appearances on the Hollywood Palace in March of '66, where he opened the show dressed as Batman, arriving at the theater behind the wheel of the Batmobile. He returned a few months later to host the show.
And now, here is your host, the famous star of television's most talked about show, Batman, Adam West! Slam! Bam! Zowie and wham!
Adam also guested on The Tonight Show in May. He and Burt Ward teamed up to appear on The Merv Griffin Show in August. And Julie Newmar visited Merv in both May and August. Batmania's impact made its way to all kinds of media. Batman was everywhere, including many magazine covers, with West making the cover of Life magazine. Andy Warhol and Nico donned Batman and Robin garb for an Esquire magazine photo shoot. Dressed as Batman, Adam West appeared in PSAs like this one.
Hello, boys and girls. I have a special message for you from the President of the United States. I salute the boys and girls who are buying United States savings, stamps, and bonds.
Batmania also made its way into the record stores, with the theme song reaching the charts by 2 artists. The theme's composer Neil Hefti's version on RCA made it to number 35 in March of '66, and the Marquette's cover version made it to number 17. Nelson Riddle's version from the TV show soundtrack failed to chart, but the soundtrack album itself peaked at number 112. And many artists, including the Ventures, Al Hurd, Jan and Dean, Laverne Baker, the Brothers Four, The Who, and the Kinks, all released Batman-related records in 1966. Various members of the TV cast also vied for the charts with their own Bat-themed musical offerings. Adam West's entry was Miranda on 20th Century Fox Records. In the song, Batman had to resist Miranda's persistent requests for him to remove his mask. Naughty Miranda. Burt Ward ventured into the recording studio to record the Frank Zappa composition, Boy Wonder I Love You, on MGM Records. Ward talked his way through this bizarre recording produced by legendary 60s producer Tom Wilson. Frank Gorshin, in his Riddler persona, performed The Riddler, written by Mel Torme for A&M Records. On the B-side, he switched to his Frank Gorshin alter ego and sang the David Gates song Never Let Her Go. Not to be outdone, Burgess Meredith as the Penguin squawked his way through The Capture and the Escape on ABC Paramount Records. Other TV show producers took notice of the high ratings and intense attention paid to the Cape Crusaders and inserted camp into the tone of their shows, with The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Lost in Space being the most notable. And Batman also became fodder for parody as Bob Hope spoofed Batman with Martha Ray on a February 1966 special. The Avengers episode The Winged Adventure delivered a send-up. A dream sequence in the 1966 Monkeys episode Captain Crocodile found Peter and Davy playing Batman-inspired characters Frogman and Reuben the Tadpole to comedic effect. Each network launched new entries into the superhero arena. Green Hornet from Batman's producers on ABC, Captain Nice from Get Smart co-creator Buck Henry on NBC, and on CBS, Mr. Terrific. Batman's influence also reached Saturday morning programming, with CBS airing several superhero-themed shows like The New Adventures of Superman, Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles, The Mighty Heroes created by Ralph Bakshi, and Hanna-Barbera's Space Ghost, which was a gigantic hit that outranked ratings juggernaut The Beatles. Space Ghost's rating success led to even more Saturday morning superhero titles debuting in 1967. NBC tossed their hat into the 66 superhero ring with the Super Six. In the summer of 1966, ABC, movie theaters, toy stores, record stores, and the media landscape in general were prepared to bask in the glow of the bat signal indefinitely. However, suddenly, America's fanatical fascination with the Caped Crusader had waned. The first sign of a chink in the bat armor was in the summer of '66, when the Batman reruns dropped out of the top 10. Then, in June '66, Adam West and Frank Gorshin, dressed in character as Batman and Riddler, headlined a pair of concerts at Shea Stadium. They each sang and then participated in some Batman banter and shtick. And among their supporting acts were the Young Rascals, the Temptations, Junior Walker and the All-Stars, and 26 Bat-Tusi Girls. Poor ticket sales nearly caused the cancellation of the concert. Only 3,000 tickets were sold for the matinee and 6,000 for the evening show. Booking the show in that 55,000-seat venue that the Beatles had sold out the previous year in 1965 indicated that the promoter expected a much bigger turnout, and he ultimately lost nearly $100,000. But this did prove that the Beatles were, in fact, bigger than Batman. In July of '66, 20th Century Fox released the highly publicized Batman the Movie, starring Adam West, Burt Ward, and 4 arch criminals from the TV series: Joker, Riddler, Penguin, and an alternate Catwoman played by Lee Merriweather. Julie Newmar did not reprise her role for unspecified reasons. While the film sold enough to break even, its moderate success was considered a major disappointment. As new episodes started to air on Wednesdays and Thursdays in September, the Thursday episodes landed in the mid-30s, losing the time slot to Daniel Boone. On Wednesdays, Batman lost the battle to both the Virginian and Lost in Space, dropping to the low 50s. And that is quite a fall from its top 10 positions just a few months previous. That fall, in a Chicago Tribune story, toy manufacturers reported that sales of Batman-related toys were cooling off. Although kids were still digging Batman, adults suddenly fled Gotham City in droves, turning the Batmania phenomena into a flash in the pan. So what happened? First, the novelty wore off as the show never veered from its formula. What was once an innovative and clever spoof now seemed repetitive and silly. Secondly, America might have been suffering from bat fatigue, tired of the fad they helped create. In the second season, there was very little variation from episode to episode. In fact, the same stock footage of the dynamic duo leaving the Batcave and journeying to police headquarters would be shown in nearly every episode. As a kid, I didn't care, but I can see adults losing interest. By the middle of season 2, Batman's future was in jeopardy. Producer Dozier lobbied hard for a third season renewal. He produced a short demo film featuring a new character aiding Batman and Robin, Batgirl. ABC was impressed enough to greenlight a season 3 for one night a week, but with a reduced license fee more commensurate with the reduced ratings. The combination of these two prerequisites, along with the increase in cast members, meant the production budget had to be slashed. And this is quite evident in season 3's minimalistic art design, where many of the sets are just black backgrounds with a few signs and props. Yvonne Craig did make a great Batgirl who rode an awesome motorcycle and had her own groovy theme song. But it was too little, too late. The ratings dropped even further and were just too low for even ABC, and the quick accumulation of enough episodes for syndication quelled the studio's desire to continue deficit financing. Ultimately, the bat signal was officially extinguished with the show's cancellation announced in January of 1968. Fox immediately offered the show up for daily syndication, and in less than a week they had pre-sold the show into 15 top markets. It began a long and successful afterlife in daily syndication in September 1968. Well, that wraps up our look at the meteoric rise and gigantic fall of Batmania in 1966. I hope that you enjoyed our look back, and I want to thank you so much for watching. If you have any memories or comments about Batmania, please list them in the comments. And if you would be so kind, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Well, this has been Boss City Brian, and until next time, I'll be standing at the bar, as I shouldn't wish to attract attention. Many blessings. Bye for now.